Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm a historian, broadcaster and an academic, and I love historical fiction. But what I love more is the history behind the fiction. I'm looking at that scene from Warful Season 1 when Anne Boleyn was pregnant, because I think we need to debunk the myth of her just being that horrible woman even when she was pregnant. Though there are some words that are very close to the truth. So let's watch it together.
The king says you never looked more beautiful. And he sends a kiss, which I told him he should deliver himself.
So what I like here is that we do have Cromwell as being a nice person here, and you see how he's way more careful around Anne because she's pregnant and they don't know that it's going to be a girl. They all think that there's 50-50, right? That it could be a boy. And so he's jovial, quite nice, paid his respect, said that the king has said that she's never been more beautiful, that and then he made the joke that, you know, you should be the one kissing her. That dynamic for me looks quite real. I think at that time it is quite true that Cromwell would have been very careful with Anne. At the same time, we have to remember that in 1533 Cromwell is totally on Anne's side. He wants the marriage to be to work, and he wants Anne to give a son to the king, and he's not on Catherine's side at all. Did he feel for her and the way she was treated and how Princess Mary was treated? In Warful, that's what they want you to believe. I personally think that the real Cromwell, the real history, he might have felt something on a personal level, but politically he kind of showed no mercy. He's the king's man. Every time when you think about Cromwell, you need to remember that he's here to do what the king wants him to do. So it doesn't matter really who he likes personally, what does he think is right or not. And here what I think is right is the marriage between Anne Boleyn and the king, and Anne Boleyn giving a son to the king. And we tend to, obviously there's lots of pressure on Anne to give her son the first time, like, you know, her first pregnancy. But there's lots of hope as well that if she gives a healthy baby, there's lots of hope that, you know, things will turn out fine for both of them, that it will be the first of many. And why am I saying this? Because we need to remember that when it comes to Catherine and Henry, they just didn't have one. I mean, they had one daughter that survived, but they had a son who was 1 year old when he died in infancy. So this idea that you can give the king a son, but he doesn't survive for long, or that, you know, what's very important is also the health of the baby. So here, a jovial, kind of nice Cromwell. We have Mary Boleyn next to Anne. We have Jean Seymour who's already serving Anne, and at that time didn't, you know, draw the attention to her. Obviously, that would not have been a good moment anyway. And behind Cromwell, we have Jane Boleyn, who's constantly vilified in all TV shows, wrongly so.
What are you wearing? I said no black.
It's scarlet.
It's very black scarlet.
Francis Bryan says I look like a walking bruise.
And here again, we have Anne. They make Anne very defensive. She doesn't like what he's wearing. I said no black. So again, we make the kind of spoiled, arrogant brat. Like that. Even when she's pregnant, she's not very nice. I said no black. And then he made a joke about it. To be fair, I mean, it's very, it's very dark scarlet. You know what I mean? Like,
Did you hear them cheer for me? All this talk of people loving Catherine. I think they just pity her.
Oh no, they love her because she's the daughter of two anointed sovereigns.
so Anne Boleyn here is she's pregnant, she's, you know, heavily pregnant, and all she thinks about is Catherine. And do you really think she would have said this out loud in front of Cromwell? And you can see how, you know, Jane Seymour is uncomfortable. And here Jane Boleyn is saying, oh no, they do love her because she's the daughter of two anointed monarchs. That's not the reason why people loved her. They loved her because she was a Queen of England, because she had lived you know, England for such a long time, because, you know, she was representing an alliance, a strong alliance between Spain and England. So she brought stability to England. What a stupid, stupid line.
They'll never love you like that, madam. Any more than Cromwell here. You may as well make your mind to it.
That's enough, Jane.
So here, Jane Boleyn is just this nasty, nasty piece of work, telling, you know, they will never love you like that, as like Cromwell. Like, she's just trying to be so nasty. Here's a depiction of that woman who's just awful. She would kind of make even Anne Boleyn more upset. And again, it's such a bad portrait. Why Jane Boleyn, whose Anne's sister-in-law, would not be on Anne Boleyn's side? I think we completely have to debunk that myth that Jane Boleyn is the reason why Anne and George Boleyn fell. No, she was on their side, because if they fell, what would have happened with her? Like, you know, you have to think that why would she have turned on any of them? So here to make us say that is so stupid in the script. It's also so historically inaccurate. There is no record of any animosity between Jane Boleyn and Anne Boleyn. So here, having her being so nasty and Jane Seymour being so nice, oh, stop, Jane, that's enough, Jane. As if Jane Seymour is just this lovely, compassionate person. Maybe Jane Seymour would have said something like that. Who knows? You know, I'm saying, like, we see that Jane Seymour is such a passive, kind of nice. She could be a bit more spicy. She could be a bit more nasty sometimes. But also, why would they risk it? Why would they risk talking to the Queen? Anne Boleyn was the Queen. She had been crowned Queen of England. And so why that nastiness in the text, in the script, in that scene? And I think it's just to make even Anne Boleyn even more horrible, to depict her as a very nasty person, because obviously it is going to trigger her.
They say the Barton girl has prophesied that so-called Princess Mary will be queen.
So here she's talking about Elizabeth Barton, who was executed by Henry VIII for having prophecies against him and Anne. And that's what Anne Boleyn is referring to. So here, so Jane Boleyn makes nasty, nasty comments. Then we see Anne Boleyn being nasty again, like talking about Elizabeth Barton, and then talking about Princess Mary being queen, and then joking about it.
Plotting with Exeter and Pole. All the old Plantagenets.
Don't distress yourself.
I'm not distressed. These people want me dead.
And here again, like, she's like, these people want her dead. I'm not sure they wanted her dead. Like, they were enemies. They were different factions. They had different political agendas. Dead is a strong word. They wanted her gone, like gone in terms that she was no longer creating problems for Catherine. But dead, like having, they want me dead, again, is just to insist on Anne Boleyn's nastiness. And it just doesn't really match what we know of Anne. I'm not saying she's perfect. Anne Boleyn was not perfect. Absolutely not. But I just don't know why we have to go down that route of that person who has, in that show, Wolfall, shows very little qualities. It's almost like, why would Henry VIII would have been ever interested in Anne Boleyn?
But when my son is born, they'll all be powerless.
And here we have the arrogance as well. And, you know, Anne Boleyn obviously said that she would bear sons. That's one of the reasons also why Henry VIII really wanted to be with her. But she could not have been that sure. And, but what's right here, it's kind of a good line in terms of like, what would have played on Anne Boleyn's mind, the real Anne Boleyn, like, once I have a son, they will be powerless. And she's right. Once she has a healthy son, if he lives, then it would have been a total different story for Anne. Though, I'm not sure how it would have ended with Henry, because Anne Boleyn was so bold and speaking her mind and so intelligent. I think she would still have gotten on Henry VIII's nerves. So I'm not sure about their relationship long term. probably she would have been okay by 1536. I think it would have taken longer. In all, this is a very, again, kind of bad depiction of Anne Boleyn. She's not very nice. She talks always about power. But there's also a very bad depiction of Jane Boleyn. So in one scene, in a very short scene, they managed to vilify two women, Anne Boleyn and her sister-in-law, Jane Boleyn. In a way, that didn't make sense at all. Let me know in the comments what you think about that scene and what you think about Jane Boleyn herself. And if you know anything about her. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!